Hey, good morning. Today we're going to go over efflorescence removal. So first thing we want to do is we want to get the pavers wet. This entire area here is suffering from what we call efflorescence. Simply, it's just the calcium deposits making their way up to the top. What expedites that is when it gets wet. So the way you counter that is you actually have to use an acid. No pressure or anything like that is going to actually remove it. It takes a specific acid to neutralize and rid this. First thing you want to do as a technician is you want to wet it all down. You never want to put the acid straight on dry surfaces, and never on glass if you can. So if you're around an area that has a lot of glass, you want to make sure that glass is really wet, and then keep it wet and try to prevent any acid from getting on there in the first place. But with pavers, they're a little more friendly. We pretty much have wet down everything. The efflorescence was expedited by, they had a lot of plants here, so they did a lot of watering. So when that constant water is what brought that calcium to the top. So the process is relatively easy. After we've already wet it all down, you want to use your proper PPE, of course, a mask, some gloves. And then we just treat it. This is our acid that we got specifically for efflorescence. And when you got efflorescence, some key notes to think of. You'll know it's efflorescence when you get it wet and it goes away. If you get it wet and it's still really white, that could be failed sealer. Sometimes the homeowners don't know if the pavers have been sealed before, so you've got to do some test spots. So if you get the pavers wet and it goes away right away, then that's usually efflorescence. It's not failed sealer. So we already did a test spot during the estimate. So again, we're going to put this on. When it starts fizzing, that's when you know it's working. We're going to put it on. We're going to let it sit for a couple minutes. Then we're going to brush it with a stiff broom and then rinse and reapply as necessary. So here we go. You can see it fizzing up, so you know you got some efflorescence. Again, you can see it fizzing up in areas. It looked really worse when it was really dry, so we've gotten a lot of moisture and rain lately, so these pavers are already pretty wet, but you can still see it fizzing in some areas. And when it's fizzing, that means it's working. And you don't ever want this to dry, so you're going to put it on, again, let it sit for a couple minutes, and then we're going to come back and broom it in with the brush, rinse it off with the power washer, and then repeat as necessary. I find it usually takes somewhere between 1 to 3 attempts before you get a satisfactory result. And then we always remind the homeowner that this could come back. This is a natural process. There's no guarantee that this won't return. So you can see it clearly fizzing up. We're just going to agitate it. Again, you want to wear PPE as much as you can. I just keep taking the mask off so that I can explain. Otherwise, I'd be having this mask on at all times. But after you scrub it with this, a broom, You want to let that sit for another, I don't know, anywhere between a couple minutes up to 15 minutes, and then you want to rinse it off. And like I said before, then you would repeat as necessary, up to 3 or 4 times max. At that point, it's really a situation where you're probably not going to remove it if it's not moving after 3 or 4 times. Right now we have this acid mixed at 1 part water to 1 part acid. So in other words, just a 50-50, but you can actually start as little as 4 to 1, so 4 parts water to 1 part acid. But this was pretty bad during the estimate, so that's why I just upped it to a 1-to-1 mix. You can go full strength depending on the severity. So again, we're gonna let this sit for probably a good 5-10 minutes, not allowing it to dry, and then we'll rinse it and then we'll repeat as necessary. And that's all I have.